Hey, it's another book talk with Tracy, and today is the third segment, hopefully the last, talking about my book Neighbours. And as I mentioned last time, I was talking a little bit about the various episodes, as I call them, because it's kind of, this book is made up of 9 novella-length shorter works, but then they do weave together, kind of almost like a TV series would. One of the things about it is because it is focused, it's in Calgary, and it's focused around people living in this apartment building. Of course, there are some other really important locations, one being The Brew, which is a coffee shop in downtown Calgary, owned by a couple of the characters. And then The Urban Cowboy, which is a bar, a pub, also owned by some important characters that we get to know a little bit more about. One of them being Corey Roberts, who he and his father own the Urban Cowboy, and it tends to be the watering hole where a lot of the action takes place, and a lot of the characters end up meeting in the evenings and stuff. One thing that when I was revising this the last time with a fresh cover, a more trendy, I guess, cover that is a little bit more up to date. Someone had mentioned to me that wouldn't it be nice to have a cast of characters in the book, kind of like you do with a play. So I actually did that. In this volume has the cast of characters, so it does sort of help to keep them straight. Another thing that's kind of cool about this volume is it includes recipes, if you can believe it. Now, for those who know me, I am not a cook, and I actually don't really enjoy cooking or recipes. But the original publisher, Helping Hands Press, when it came out in 2014, it came out as these serialized novellas, and with each episode, the publisher wanted us to include like 5 recipes that kind of connected in some way to the novella. And so I had to really, think about that. It was probably the most difficult part of the writing process for me. But at the end of the day, when it was published as this collection, there's this whole section at the back of recipes, which is like, how cool is that? I mean, really, there's, 20 pages of recipes at the back of that thing. So, it went through some changes. I showed some of the various covers and changes that the book has gone through. But when I was refreshing it this last time, I thought, hey, I should include those recipes again. So another bonus in this new version is that there are bonus recipes from the neighborhood in the back, along with that cast of characters. But, I kind of skimmed through some of the later episodes, and I think that's okay. I mean, hopefully you're interested enough in what I said before that you would want to keep reading. But certainly what happens is that each episode builds. There is a fair amount of intrigue, and I didn't talk much about that too, because I do like some suspense in my novels, and there is some nefarious business going on here, and some accidents. Lester almost gets killed at one point, so there's things happening like that I didn't mention the last time that do give it that little edge, sort of that romantic suspense edge. And I also mentioned, that it is Christian, but it's certainly not overtly preachy. As the characters are navigating life and trying to figure things out. One of the things that happened when I wrote this book, well, first of all, I should tell you, where did I even get this idea? So it's almost embarrassing to admit, but I don't know, sometime back in the early 2000s, I was really addicted, I hate to use that word, but to playing The Sims. I loved The Sims. And I would, make all these people and these various, characters and have them living in different houses. And so the truth is that actually some of these characters who end up here started out as Sims characters. Can you believe it? That was sort of that little seed, which then blossomed, and I started thinking more about the characters and how I could bring them together. And so then I actually wrote the bones of this in, might have been 2013, as a NaNoWriMo project. National Novel Writing Month. Of course, it was super rough, and I had to do quite a bit of revision and thinking about it in order to make it fit into this serialized format that the publisher wanted at the time. But that was kind of the beginning, and that's where Neighbours all began. It says on the back it's a quirky cast of characters, and that is true. And I do really love some of these characters. I feel really attached to them. And so much so, there's one character who appears in the book, and he's not a main character, but his name is Jed Malloy. And he is a neighbor to Lester, and he and Lester end up becoming very good friends, and Jed helps Lester get a job. And this character, Jed Malloy, was just so fun and fascinating. He's from Newfoundland, and for those who don't know, Newfoundland is a province in Canada, but it's on the East Coast, and it just has a very unique culture. And I have lots of friends who are from Newfoundland, but they are a unique bunch. I mean, I can't say it any other way. So Jed moves to Calgary from Newfoundland to get a job, and he is just such an endearing character. Like he's a favorite, not just of mine, but of readers who've read the series. Everybody just seemed to really love Jed because he's this quintessential redneck. He's just a good old boy from Newfoundland. He's really rough around the edges. And he has his own kind of funny dialect. And if you know people from Newfoundland, you'll know that that's true. And all kinds of words that, like, what does that even mean? So, he's just a super fun character. And the more I was finishing this series, the more I realized that he kind of needed his own book. And I got to thinking, like, wow, I should write about Jed. He's already talked about the fact that he comes from this really large family of 9 children. And so what if I wrote about him, and his whole family came either for a visit or moved to Calgary. And so that's where the second book in the Neighbours series, Keeping Up with the Neighbours, starts with Jed Malloy and his raucous family from Newfoundland. But I'm going to talk more about that in another segment. But anyways, super fun. Hopefully you're enjoying it. I hope that you pick up a copy of Neighbours, give it a try. Head over to my website, tracykrause.com. No E in Tracy, 2 S's in Krause. I certainly appreciate any reviews online, and I'm going to talk to you another time about the second book in the series. But for now, I'm going to say bye-bye and take care. We'll see you soon.